Parfait Lutundula, who's a PhD candidate in engineering, control and power systems at the University of Cambridge, where his research focuses on the stability and control of inverter-dominated power systems and the integration of renewable energy into next-generation power grids. His work aims to develop scalable and resilient approaches for integrating renewable energy technologies into future electricity systems. Beyond his research, Parfait has been actively engaged in global conversations on the energy transition and sustainable development, including contributing to international dialogues at COP28, COP29, and COP30, and has spoken at forums such as the Energy Access Investment Forum on scaling decentralized renewable energy solutions across Africa. Alongside all of that, he's also the co-founder and CEO of Tech Power Services, a renewable energy social enterprise which has been developing solar-powered mini-grids in rural areas of the Democratic Republic of Congo to expand energy access and support local economic development with the broader goal of advancing sustainable and inclusive energy systems across Africa. Parfait, thank you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. So, my name is Parfait Lutundula. I'm a PhD candidate in the engineering department. And I'm going to present you the first part about my research and the second part about my work on energy access in Africa. But if there is anything that I would like you to remember out of my presentation is that my work is actually to ensure that we keep the lights on. So we all use electricity, but behind these lights that you see, there is a huge and complex infrastructure that we call power system. So for over a century, this infrastructure that we call power system has been dominated by large power plants, which are far from the consumption, and they are based on fossil fuel like thermal generator, coal, gas, and some also part of the hydro. However, these power plants, they had a natural characteristic that we call inertia, which could stabilize the grid. But currently now, due to the effect of climate change, many countries, they've set targets to meet net zero. And the UK, for example, they have an ambition to meet net zero by adding close to 50 gigawatts of offshore wind farm by 2030. But by adding this renewable energy into the grid, it brings a lot of challenges because the way that renewable energy they are integrated into the grid is a bit different than the traditional conventional generator. And this can compromise the stability and the safety. Let's take an example, for instance, for the offshore wind farm. And this is actually what is happening currently in the UK, in the Scotland. We have offshore wind farm, they want to be integrated. So for them to be connected to the onshore grids so that we can collect the power that is generated by the wind farm, they need to use long undersea cables, and that we call DC cables. But the problem is like when we interconnect different offshore wind farms together, there is actually a probability that we get what we call interaction. So think of it like we have an orchestra and we have talented actually musicians, but if there is no conductor, they may sing out of synchronization, and yeah, it may break the harmony of the whole orchestra. So this is what is happening also in the power system, and when it's happened, we call it oscillation that leads to instability. So those instability, they lead to cascaded failure, and they may lead to what we call blackout. We say blackout when the whole grid collapsed and we don't have electricity. Such situation happened last year in Spain, and when it's happened, it causes a major economic losses. So we need to find a way to avoid such situation, and that's where my research comes in. So what are we proposing? So we are proposing what we call dynamic certificates. Think of it like a safety passport. So we are proposing mathematical tools that before any offshore wind farm to be connected to the grid, you need to satisfy that certificate so that we make sure that once it's connected, it cannot cause any instability into the power grid, and the grid will be operating in a reliably and safe manner. And what is the innovation of our proposed approach? Is like, because first of all, it's allowed to be assessed in a decentralized manner, and it allows a decision making using only local information. But the other one also is because for the manufacturers or for the developer to assess this stability condition, they don't need to reveal their trade secret, their trade secret, which actually is proprietary information. So it allows that it can be assessed using just black box models. And this is make it more appealing to the industry now. But we've developed the stability tools, and currently we are doing what we call the validation. So we need to do the simulation so that we can validate and make sure that it's actually aligned with what the industry rule. But I would like just to talk about the practical implication of what we do. The first of all is actually allows the first integration of offshore wind farm. You've heard that there is a lot of actually delay in the connection of renewables. And in one part, it's caused because it requires a long and tedious studies that may delay the connection. But with our tools, it can help to assess quickly the compliance of any power plant that you want to connect, and accelerates the deployment of renewables. But overall, it will help a stronger grid. Once we have all the renewables connected with a grid with a high penetration of renewables, it will allow us to have a stronger grid. But the ultimate goal is because we want this grid code, these tools to be actually implemented into grid code. However, while in Europe, we are talking about integrating massively renewable energies, but in Africa, the story is different. Close to 600 million of Africans, they live without electricity. Myself, during my childhood, I faced such situation where I could do my homework at night using a candlestick. And that's where born the idea of Tech Power Services. What we are doing Tech Power Services, we want to empower any community through clean energy by building an Africa future distributed utility. So how are we doing it? Contrary to Europe, where the electricity is actually supplied through the national grid, but in Africa, we are using now a different approach, which is called a decentralized approach using off-grid solution. But what we propose is a platform with 3 layers. The first layer is infrastructure, what we call mini-grid. We have a solar and a small grid, but we make sure that electricity is not provided just for lighting, but it can power productive use so that it can power productive prosperity and unlocking the economic potential of rural area where we are operating. But we've strengthened it with software where we want to make sure that the reliability is a center of operation and the light is kept on for 24 hours and 7 days. And we want to make sure that we maximize the customer experience so that at least they have satisfaction of the electricity that they are using. So far, we've been developing. We have almost 50 kilowatt peak of installations that we've done in rural community of DRC that are powering healthcare centers, they are powering homes. But as I said, the main model is actually to enable that electricity is used for productive use. And currently now we have almost 3 sites which are in pipeline. And for one of the sites, what we are doing is we'll be powering an agro-processing unit where energy will be used to transform the mango into mango juice and go to be sold into the capital city of Kinshasa. But the vision is simple. So we want by 2030 connect 1 million of people. But as we scale, we want to build distributed utility, interconnect, moving from isolated microgrid to interconnected microgrid. And this is where also I want to apply the research, the certificate that I'm developing on my research, and try to see how also we can apply to the context of microgrid so that we scale while keeping the reliability of the system. So this is actually a problem because energy is not only lighting, energy is actually education, is agriculture, and for Africa to develop to become one of the economic powerhouses, we need electricity. Thank you so much.